What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Wednesday night's late night agenda. As always, pleasure to be here with you. Apologies, I was a couple of minutes late. We were just recording the latest episode of the Anfield Agenda podcast, and the good news, that'll be out tonight at 10:45, so do make sure you check it out. It was myself, Connor and Steve, and we were talking about the match last night. We're looking ahead to the Crystal Palace game, and we had a couple of other interesting conversations that we hope will keep you guys entertained and informed, which is the hope when you do these things. Right, folks, tonight we're going to be discussing the heartbreaking news around the situation with Leone and his ACL. We don't fully know the extent of it yet, but it is going to be a prolonged spell out as it is an ACL injury. So we're going to talk you through that tonight a little bit. We'll talk about the good news, which is it looks like some new contracts are going to be on offer. Curtis Jones, Ryan Gravenberch, looking like they will be getting new deals soon enough. I'll be talking about some heat maps from Alexander Isak and Ugo Ekitike and how they're quite similar. A little bit on Andy Robertson and lots more as well. Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section. As always, appreciate you being with us. And as I mentioned, no more relevant place to start, I guess, than the news that initially came from Fabrizio Romano earlier on today around the situation with Giovanni Leone, and it is heartbreaking stuff. Romano said Liverpool centre-back Giovanni Leone has torn his ACL and will be out for several months. After an excellent debut in the League Cup last night, Arne Slot very happy with his performance. An unlucky injury for Leone. And look, I never really talk too much about Liverpool fans doing stuff on social media, but as I mentioned in the video earlier on today, I do think it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we show outwardly how much we have the kids back, because it is a heartbreaking situation for him to pack up his bags, leave Italy at 18 years of age, move across to the UK with his family, join Liverpool Football Club, work really hard to get into the manager's thinking, make your debut, look really good in your debut, and then of course have that unfortunate injury. So make sure, if you're on social media, if you are a user, show your love for Giovanni Leone, post positive stuff, post supportive stuff, and let him know that the Liverpool fan base has his back through good and bad times, because he's going to need it. He's going to need good people around him. He's going to need lots of love and support, because these injuries, they're difficult, and we don't see the hard parts of it. We don't see the hard work that these guys go through at the AXA with the recovery. He will have good people at the club around him. Plenty of his teammates have been through it. Virgil, Florian Wirtz, Joe Gomez. So he will have good people around him at the club. But, let's show why we are the best fan base in the world and make sure that we are showing the world what we think of Giovanni Leone and that we're looking forward to him being back. Jake said, had my ACL surgery in March and it's tough. I hope you've recovered, mate. I'm very fortunate. I've not really had too many injuries in sport related or not in life. So, wishing Giovanni a speedy recovery. Of course, we'll have a better understanding of the time frame and stuff involved as time goes on. But yeah, it's just really unfortunate. Paul Gorst has said Liverpool are refusing to place a time scale on the length of absence at present, with head coach Arne Slot due to update in his Friday press conference. However, it is understood that club medical staff are fearful of a serious issue. It's just heartbreaking stuff, because he's been so good in the performance we've seen last night. Just unfortunate, really unfortunate for him. Jason, Irish Red, said, hi Craig, I see Arsenal fans have stolen our song for Chiesa and are singing it for Eze. Well, as long as they don't steal the league title from us, Jason, let's be frank, mate, we've robbed a few as well. Si Senor, we robbed as well, from River Plate, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, look, leave them to it, mate. They don't have much originality. But actually, Jason, you know what, mate? While you brought up something, Arsenal, I want to talk about Mikel Arteta for a second. So I've told you guys many times, I love watching Sky Sports back pages tonight. I love hearing what the journalists are saying about the latest news in the football world. But they were talking about Arteta in his press conference last night. And I have to say, I didn't think he could be more deluded, but he found a way. So Mikel Arteta said in his League Cup press conference that he's baffled by the accusations from the likes of Carragher and Keane about him playing with a handbrake on. He said, and I mean this, I'm not trying to wind you up. He said that their performance against Manchester City in the draw was the most dominant of any team that has played against a Pep Guardiola team in 17 years of Guardiola being in management. Now, if you don't believe me, search it out yourself. He said that in a draw. I don't know if anybody reminded him they beat them by a much higher scoreline last year, but he seems to think in his delusional little mind that they are the only team who've ever really bested Manchester City, and that was the most intense, impressive, complete performance over a Pep Guardiola side in his 17 years of management. He's lost the plot. He's quite simply just lost the plot. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's crazy. Yeah, the man's lost it. Thoughts on that one? It's a bit of a mad one, but yeah, there you go. Sorry, something just freaked me out there. All the images on my desktop have disappeared for some reason, which is freaking me out. I don't know where they're gone. That's crazy. Honestly, don't know where all the images are gone, but there you go. Guardiola football is obsolete now, said Denzel. Sporting trash City last season along with 15 more teams. No, but Arteta said it, mate. So, you know, he doesn't lie. He's a delusional man, I have to say. He really is. Where are all my desktop icons gone? This is freaking me out. That's really weird. I've all in the middle here, just sitting here talking to you guys, they just disappeared off my computer. 1 second. Right, anyway, let's keep going. Right, where were we at? There was a couple more super chats I needed to get through. Bobby said an injury didn't stop Harvey. I believe in him. I believe in him as well. And it won't stop him. He's only 18 years of age, Giovanni Leone. But, you know, it must be heartbreaking for him to just come in, play his first game, play so well, and then just have that injury. It's really difficult. I gave Leone support and love on Insta, said Robban. Good man. Appreciate that. He's going to need it from us, so let's make sure that we do. Craig, do you think Liverpool will make one change from the team that played Everton, Isak coming in for Ekitike? So I don't want to give you my prediction yet because I'll be recording it tomorrow and it'll be going out. But the big conversation point for me is going to be two things. Left-hand side and also the midfield. They're the two areas that I'm intrigued to see what he does. You know, because in midfield he has Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, who are nailed on to play. Like, absolute worldy season so far. So Wirtz or Maka may miss out. And then on the left side, they're two interesting conversations. What do I think of starting Chiesa over Gakpo? I don't think there's any chance of it happening after Chiesa getting 90 minutes. We were discussing this on the podcast tonight as well. Because Chiesa played the full 90 and he's still working his way back into proper match fitness, I think there's absolutely no chance that that he'll be starting the game. For me, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I don't see it. But if it was maybe next week, perhaps, I just don't think it would. With him not having played 90 minutes much for Liverpool, so I think you'll probably see Chiesa get minutes off the bench. Lewis said, my shirt came today, exactly the same as the one you're wearing. Nice, Lewis. I hope you like it. I absolutely love my one, mate, I have to say. Let's get into more news. So, I'm not trying to say that there is any upside to somebody having an ACL injury, because there absolutely is not. But one thing that I did want to draw your attention is the injury to Giovanni Leone means that Liverpool will be able to include Federico Chiesa in the Champions League squad now. 1 second. Oh. Sorry, folks. My wife's just messaging me something. I need to just message her back with something. Right. So, so the injury to Giovanni Leone means that we can now make a change to the Champions League squad to add in one more person. And I'm going to explain to you how and why that is possible. So, UEFA made an amendment to the registration rules just late before this season's Champions League started, which enables club to make one change to their squad during the league phase if a player has a long-term injury. Now, the player has to be ruled out for at least 60 days, and the club can then replace them in their squad. They can do this once, and they can only do it up until match day 6. So with Leone's injury, Liverpool will be able now to put Federico Chiesa into the Champions League squad for the remaining 9 games of the league phase. Or excuse me, the remaining 7 games of the league phase. Which, I don't want to say it's good news. It's good news for Federico, but of course, nobody wanted the injury to Giovanni Leone or anything like it. But this will give Liverpool the ability to put Chiesa in the Champions League squad. Stargirl said we moved to a 4-4-2, which was interesting. It was, and I didn't really cop it too much from Stargirl until Ekitike got himself sent off, and then Arna went 4-4-1. You could see him on the sideline saying it. That was the first time that I'd really copped that we had moved to a different system. So, interesting. And again, we've talked about the manager's tactical flexibility, the squad flexibility, and that was a good example of it there last night. Also found it very interesting when Frimpong came on, him and Bradley again on the pitch together. It might give us an indication of what may happen when Salah's at the AFCON, for example. So, look, last night was the bullet dodged. I think that's fair to say. While we're talking about it, I want to just give praise to Will Stills and Southampton. I thought that they actually came to play. Didn't sit back, didn't try to defend deep. They came, they had a go. For spells of it, let's be honest, they were probably the better team for spells. So, yeah. So I hope you guys agree on that one, because they were a championship side and they came to play, which is refreshing. Will came from Football Manager. Yep, he did. Used to get the French side he used to manage, used to get fined every time he was coaching them because he didn't have his license, and now of course he does, and he's at Southampton. Right, let's talk about Ryan Gravenberch, because Ben Jacobs has said that Liverpool and Ryan Gravenberch will open contract talks this winter, meaning very soon. He also goes on to say that Ryan Gravenberch has no doubt in putting pen to paper, and it should be a very smooth conversation. So we were only talking about this, I think, yesterday or the night before, and we said that we have to make sure the contract situation that we've seen with Canade, with Trent, with Virgil, with Mo doesn't happen again. And we urge the club to make sure that they get cracking on it. So this is good news to see that today. And there's been a few reports on it as well. This one here from Graham Bailey said TBR Football understands that Ryan Gravenberch and Curtis Jones are in line for new deals. Talks have already taken place, and they will assess Andy Robertson's future as the season goes on. Which, again, I think is sensible. I would like to see Robbo get an extension. We talked about this on last night's show as well. And good that Richard Hughes has this in hand, and we're going to get moving with it. I wanted to bring up a couple of icons onto the screen, and I don't mean that in a player form, but I wanted to just give you a look at heat maps from league games, the start of 24-25. So I want to just show you the heat maps of Isak and Ekitike and show you some similarities between them. So this is a Sky Sports graphic. Let me just bring this up on screen for you. So there, as you can see, they are the heat maps of Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike and their positioning in league games since the start of 24-25. I kind of find it fascinating here. The only kind of difference that I can really spot there initially is a little bit more movement to the right-hand side for Ekitike than we see there with Isak, who tends to drift out to the left a little bit more. That's one of the only few things that I can really see there off the top of my head. But I found it interesting just having a look on that earlier on. And as I said, credit Sky Sports, it's their graphic. I just wanted to show it to you guys so you could see that similarity. Almost the same, said Hoarder. Yep. And there's another interesting one as well that I guess could add on to it a little bit. And this one is in their positioning. So let's talk about this one for a second. Let me just bring this one up. This one is just about positioning. So let me drag this on again. So there, as you can see, positioning wise, you can see the percentage where each player from Ekitike and Isak is utilising. And with Isak, which is the one on the left-hand side, you can see 96% of the time he's in and around the penalty area, 1% of the time he's a bit deeper, and then 1% and 2% on the left. If you look at that with Ekitike, he's 54% of the time inside the 18-yard box centrally, but you can see the difference there. 27% of the time he's the right-hand side of the penalty area, 10% of the time he's even further right again. So yeah, you can see the difference in the way the two players play the position, and it fascinates me because we're all still getting to grips and trying to understand how these guys will work in a Liverpool team and how we can utilise them. So I just found those graphics from Sky quite interesting. RMS said, do you think we will go defender shopping in January? Almost certainly, mate, yeah. Almost certainly. Normally, I would say you don't sign somebody to replace an injured player. But we know more than that, right? We know that we were looking to bring in somebody anyway, and we did manage to get the deal done for Mark Gay. So yeah, I do think this will push us along. Now, I can't sit here and say we're going to get Mark Gay in January because we could again face the same situation with Crystal Palace where Glasner and their chairman don't want to move in mid-season, or they come up with a ridiculous price that Liverpool don't want to pay and they think we're desperate. I don't know. But yes, we have to get cracking on one. Let's actually ask that as the first poll question tonight. Right, so simple one. Do we now need to get a centre-back in January? Yes or no? I mean, has to be yes though, right? I can't see how anybody could say no realistically. Because another part of this conversation, I guess, is you can add into the fact that yes, Giovanni Leone is injured, but we also have to have a conversation around quite how bad Joe Gomez was, which isn't something I've said much in my time covering Liverpool on this channel. But that was, in my opinion, a very, very underwhelming Joe Gomez performance last night. So adding that into the equation, yeah, we got to get another centre-back because I don't want Reece Williams. I don't want Endo playing it. One thing I have to hold my hands up on last night when I was doing my player ratings and I was doing the match reaction stuff, I absolutely forgot to credit Andy Robertson for that wonderful ball over the top to Chiesa. It was only when I was watching back the highlights last night that I thought, oh, I forgot. Because that was an exceptionally good pass for that any of our centre-backs would have been proud of from Robbo. And another thing as well I want to touch on is, you know, we're going to talk about Federico Chiesa and his redemption arc. But that first touch to kill the ball when Robbo played it over the top was absolutely sublime. And it opened up everything then. That first touch into his stride, opened up his body, and he shaped the shoe and then squared it to Ekitike, who obviously tapped it into the open goal. And we know what, unfortunately, he did next. But yeah, that was sensational from both Andy Robertson and, of course, from Federico Chiesa, because that touch, he just made it look way easier than it should have been. It was magnificent, especially right on the 18-yard box. You don't touch that right, it rolls forward, it goes to the goalkeeper, or it goes left or right. I thought it was just perfect. And again, an incredible ball from Andy Robertson. Jay Cliff said, yes, Craig, plus they also need to get homegrown players. Gay would be a must if we could manage it. By no means will it be easy. You're right on the homegrown stuff as well. It is something we've spoken about before, and something I think that Liverpool will look to keep an eye on moving forward in transfer markets. A few other. So I've got one more stat that I'm going to talk about in a moment about Mohamed Salah, which I don't know if it's an outlier or it's a reason to be concerned, but I'll talk about it in a moment. Before I do, though, just a couple of other bits and pieces that I wanted to clear up. So, the League Cup 4th round draw, that will be taking place tonight after the Arsenal game against Port Vale. Now, I've no idea how these games are going tonight, or if there's any chance it goes to penalties or anything like that. I don't know. I've not got the scores open in front of me. But we're hoping to still be live for it. If we don't, then I'll record a quick reaction to it. But yeah, that draw is taking place tonight. So, as always, I'm hoping for a home draw, so the lads and girls in the Auto Cup scheme can get themselves to another game. Right, where we are. So, the stat that I said was concerning me a little bit was one, again, that I'd seen on a good Sky Sports article, by the way, which I would thoroughly say is worth a read. And it's basically breaking down Liverpool's form so far, the start of the season and, everything, basically. It was a really good piece on the Sky Sports app, so definitely say go and have a look at it. But this stat worries me, and it's Mohamed Salah's attacking drop-off is the headline of this little piece. And it's non-penalty expected goals and expected assisted goals combined per 90 minutes. The Premier League for the last 9 seasons. And Salah's numbers have dropped dramatically so far this year. And I know it's still early doors. And I know there's still lots of footy to be played. But when I say dramatic drop-off, I mean dramatic. So, all the way back to 17-18, he's pretty much averaging a goal contribution a game. Next season, it goes to, again, just under between 7.7 and 0.8%. And that's kind of where he fluctuates. His lowest was 0.6 expected goal contributions in a game. And that was in and around 1920. That was his lowest. This season, and yes, it's a small sample size, but this season so far, he's at 0.22. A long way away from what he's capable of and what he's done in the past. So again, I'm not trying to say that this is an indication of Salah, being defeated by Father Time or anything like it. But it's just, again, I guess, backing up our eye test and what we've been speaking about, and that we haven't really seen Mo have the same impact. Now, another point to this that I think is fair and valid is that the burden will be spread across the attackers and the midfielders. So I fully expect to see Mohamed Salah's goal contributions drop off a bit this season, because I think that burden of goals and assists will be spread around more throughout the team. But like I said, it was just because it was so dramatic, such a difference, that I had to bring it up tonight. It is the start of the season, but even if you look back, he normally starts the season very well. Normally we're talking about a Salah drop-off latter part of the season, which is why it's concerning me. Because, like I'm saying, it is early. You're right to say that. This is only taking into account 5 games so far in the Premier League. But, it's just backing up again what we've spoken about. We see with our eyes. Sometimes you need some numbers to let you know if you're delusional or not. Because often I've talked about player performances and I've seen something and I've looked at the numbers and the numbers don't really support my viewpoint. So it's made me think, okay, rewatch this, look at it with fresh eyes and see it again. So that's all I'm trying to say, basically. Let's see what you guys are thinking. Maybe we're playing a bit differently now. Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps. There's a whole load of varying factors to this. And like I said, this isn't me trying to knock Mohamed Salah. I love the dude. This is just a conversation because I think it's interesting. There's a lot of factors, like you said. New teammates. We've still got the Diogo Jota situation that we'll be playing, and with heavy hearts on those gents as well. So lots of things. But it's just, again, backing up what we've seen with our own eyes, in that we haven't seen him. Maybe Atletico Madrid game aside, I felt like the real Mo showed up there. Colette said, I don't think Mo's headspace has been right since losing Diogo. Again, Colette, completely understandable, mate. Yeah, absolutely. These guys are human beings as well. Completely more than fair. Brie Cairns said, or Cairns, excuse me, said Trent played a big part in getting service to him. He did. But one of my favourite things about Mo in recent years has been Mo turning creator. I think he's added a lovely new string to his bow there in his ability to find teammates, to pick out a pass and to, spread around the goals to others. So, I like these things as a player gets older, that sometimes they reinvent the way they play a little bit. They're a bit more aware of maybe the physical attributes dropping a bit, but their mental edge is clear, or the experience they have on a football pitch. I'm fascinated by this, how a forward or a player like that can reinvent the way they play. Paul McGrath said, if Van Dijk gets injured, we'll win nothing. We're extremely low at centre-back. Leone's gone. Gomez played really badly, and Canade hasn't even signed. We dithered for weeks over Gay, and it'll cost us. So, there's not much, Paul, that you've said there, mate, I disagree with, except for the last part. I don't think dithering is the reason we lost out on Mark Gay. And the reason why is, let's remember why they didn't sell him in the end. It's because they couldn't find a replacement. So maybe I'm being naive with this one, Paul, but I've always felt that Palace knew all summer somebody was coming knocking. So the fact that they didn't have a player that they needed anyway brought in, I don't think it was down to us dithering. But the rest of what you've said, I don't really have any pushback on, mate. I think it's a fair point, and I'd be a liar if I told you I think much differently to you. An injury to Van Dijk, and yeah, we're in trouble. Carl Harvey said Gravenberch signing an extension would be amazing news for us. He's become a key player. Frank Slater said this squad is good and will only get better as they gel and the season progresses. Again, very much agree, mate. We had an interesting conversation about tonight and on the podcast, and I kind of asked the guys, have you any concerns over the style of football that we have? Because I do, but not in a way that's probably as exaggerated as a lot of my viewpoints are. So for me, when I look at the style of football we play under Arne Slot, there's no denying it's a little bit more thoughtful. It's a little bit more purposeful in keeping possession of the football. Sometimes it feels like we're moving the ball side to side, looking for that perfect pass that isn't going to be there, and sometimes it winds me up. But I've always understood why. I've always understood the trade-off in keeping the ball before playing that pass, the right pass. Because we've always been, in my opinion, at our most vulnerable when we give away possession. When we turn over the ball on the edge of an 18-yard box and get countered. But here's the thing. It's still not stopping us conceding. So this is where I'm starting to talk and wonder and worry about the style. Because we're scoring, we're winning, and winning's great. And I'll never complain about us winning. But if the trade-off was to be more cautious and careful protecting the football so we don't get countered and concede, well, I don't see that side of it's working. That's my take on it. But I don't for 1 second believe it's a boring style, nor do I believe, there's any huge headaches with it. I just think we need to find ways to get the likes of Wirtz into those pockets of space and not be reliant on a centre-back playing a long ball over the top or into the channel. We need to have more strings to our bow in the way that we can break teams down. And whilst, like I said, I understand the protection of the football, we've spoken about it a couple of times with our wide players as well, where they check inside. There's a reason they check inside. If you check inside and you give the ball away, it's in a more congested area of the pitch and you've more chance to get back. If you lose it going around the outside of a player or your fullback bombs around the outside, well then they're out position, you turn over the ball straight in over the fullback's area and you're countered. I just, my concern is why are we still conceding goals? That's the part. Oh, sorry, that sounds simplistic, doesn't it? We're always going to concede goals, but why are we still not defensively as solid then? Has the XG for us to concede been really low, though? Maybe, Drew, but this is one of those, right, the XG might be saying something, but we're still fucking conceding, dude. So, the XG isn't going to win us or lose us a league, but conceding goals or scoring goals is. So, yeah, if the XG is showing that we should be conceding less than we are, it's certainly a valid point, but it's 1 point in the conversation. IFI Must said, Craig, do you think Palace and Liverpool will have a conversation between now and January about Gay, and do you think 20 million will do it? I hope we have the conversation. Number-wise, I don't think you're too far off. They'll want more, I've no doubt about that, but, using logic, if he was 35 million last summer and it's halfway through a season, yeah, you would think the number will go down a bit. But they also now know that there's more pressure on Liverpool to plug that gap because of the injury to Leone. So it is going to be a very difficult. What I would say is I wouldn't be surprised to see Liverpool put out some red herrings to look at other options, to say, okay, well, Liverpool are tracking this guy. A couple of leaks to the media to, kind of say we have options. David Latham said we don't need two centre-backs going forward for corners. Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. Sorry, mate, to sound so brash, but we do. 100%. Because centre-backs, when we're being countered from a corner, aren't going to be the ones that are keeping up. You would almost want your full-backs back on the halfway line at that point, or your defensive midfielder. From a set piece, I want my two 6 foot plus centre backs in that 18-yard box, because if you look at the headed goals we score from set pieces, more often than not, it's coming from a centre back. So when we have those attributes, I think we'd be foolish not to put them in there. Leave your Andy Robertsons, your Frimpongs, your Bradleys on the halfway line for me. Do we get a free agent centre back like Tomiyasu if we promote Nallo or Reece Williams, or do we wait until January? Oh, it's a good question, mate. It's a good question. So I'm going to say we wait, and here's why. What we have ahead of us is 4 weeks of international football. So we've got another 2 weeks in October and 2 weeks in November, which kind of helps us out here. Meaning that there is less games to be played than would normally be in a run. So I think that fact, the fact that Arne feels that he can drop Robertson, or even at a push he can drop in Gravenberch or Endo in there at a push, might bail us out for the short term. But January's a different situation for me. So yeah, I don't want a free agent. I would rather make do until January and then go get who they want. Just my take, though. Feel free to disagree. I'm just trying to make sure I've gone through these. This one. RMS said, do you think we'll go defender shopping in January? I think we have to, mate. Yeah, I think we have to. Thank you, by the way, for your super chat. Appreciate your support. But yeah, at this point, I can't see how we don't. Nathan said, Chiesa now in the Champions League squad for Leone, Fabrizio Romano. I didn't need Romano to tell me that, mate. I knew this hours ago and said it in videos. So Romano's no fucking genius on this one, I'm afraid. The Echo are writing about it as well. I know we all love to give Romano a little pat in the back, but yeah, this isn't a Romano story. But you are right. I read it out earlier on as well. The rules were changed just before the start of this season's competition. All clubs can now make one change if they have an injury to a player who's going to be out for 60 days or longer, and it's before the end of match week 6. That's when you're allowed to make one change to your squad. And like you've rightly pointed out, Nathan, that unfortunate injury to Giovanni Leone will mean that Chiesa will now be included. And sorry, I definitely didn't mean that to be rude to you, Nathan. Romano has a cult following at times that winds me up sometimes, because sometimes he states the obvious, or posts stuff that, others have done before him, but he somehow still ended up with credit on it. Right, Trav17 said, prediction for Saturday, Craig. This is going to sound horrible because you've sent me a super chat, but I don't want to give out a prediction, mate, because it'll undermine my video that I'll be putting out. Let me just say this, though. I'm still on the fence about the result. I wouldn't at all be surprised if we got a draw from this game. Now, I'm not sure yet which way I'm going to go on it, but they're unbeaten in 15 or 16. They're in really good form. There'll be a bit of spice to the game because of the Mark A situation, and Selhurst Park is a difficult place to go anyway. So, yeah, I'm unsure, mate, on that one. And you said, and how long do you think we will see Isak for? And if he comes off, who do we replace him with since Ekitike's out? So I would say probably the hour mark for Isak, and surely it's got to be Federico who comes on. So there's a couple of interesting things, Trav, for me in this one. I'm interested to see what Arne does on the left-hand side. You assume it's going to be Gakpo, but, if Gakpo comes off, does Wirtz go to the left? Does Chiesa then come on to the centre for Isak? That's kind of where my head's at with it, mate. But Chiesa should be getting minimum 30 off the bench for me for this one. Corbin said, I'm being silly to think Hugo versus Isak is a future issue. So I'm glad you brought this up, because again, I was talking about this at the end of the podcast tonight. I take offence to this situation. Not from you, not from any Liverpool fan, but the narrative is already being written. And Tim Sherwood on Sky was saying something similar. This, in my opinion, isn't I don't like Isak, I'm going to be the guy type of scenario. They'll try to paint it that way, because you've probably seen the same narrative already doing the rounds. Ekitike's annoyed that Isak was brought in. Bullshit. I absolutely believe Ekitike knew Isak was coming in before he signed, or that Liverpool still wanted him. 100% believe that. And we've also seen Ekitike say that he's multifaceted. And if we go back and look at, even this, you will see that there is a variation to the positions they take up and where they play. So I don't want us fans, as Liverpool fans, to be getting sucked in to narratives to try to undermine us and our players. So if there's a problem, Arne will sort it out. I don't believe there is a problem. What I think is happening is what we've always spoken about. This great competition for places that should be there. And I love that Ekitike wants to remind people that he's here. I don't like him getting sent off, obviously, but give me a player that wants to prove his worth every day of the week. Give me a player that doesn't care that we signed a £125 million striker. He still thinks he's good enough to be playing. I want that. So don't let this shit be twisted and let other people get in our heads about it. This is good, healthy competition. And I love it. May the best man win. Let's see who scores the most goals. Let's see who gets the most assists. This is brilliant. So yeah, don't let that narrative get into your heads, because it will be spun. And the reason, again, is the same thing I keep coming back to. Fear. They want doubt. They want us to trip up and stumble. And they want to find cracks in Liverpool, which aren't there. So we can't do the work for them. So let's make sure that we back our boys, and that we know that this shit from the outside is exactly that, to try and destabilise us. Same with the Wirtz stuff. Same with the Isak attitude stuff. All this narrative has been there all summer. Isak was the villain all summer. Not Visa, not Victor Gyökeres, who did the very same thing. Not Cunha, who spoke in the past as well before his move to United. Only vilification all summer was Isak. Isak and Liverpool. That was it. And that pissed me off. Why wasn't there the same energy for Gyökeres? Why wasn't there the same energy from Visa? You know why. I know why. Because Liverpool drives clicks. Liverpool drives attention. Liverpool drives traffic. And it does my head in. And I find myself shouting at the TV over and over again now. What is a very clear narrative to undermine us. And I said this to you guys the other day, again watching Sky, and they had a lady on who is a presenter on TalkSport. Forgive me, I can't remember her name. But she was on there and she was talking, and the question she was asked was, Arne Slot was a little bit prickly in his press conference talking about the £450 million spent. And that question then got put to the presenter. And they went on to speak about Arne being a bit prickly, and that it is a quite amount of money to spend, and that there is more pressure on Liverpool. But you know what they didn't do? They didn't address Arne's actual point, which was, yes, we spent a lot of money, but nobody talks about the money they recouped. The 450 million figure is all that anybody sees everywhere and doing the rounds. Doesn't talk about the fact we'd less net spend than others. It is again trying to undermine what Liverpool are building. For what reason, I don't know. But that's all it is. They never once actually addressed Arne's point, which was, yes, we spent the money, but we brought in nearly £300 million. Let's not ignore that, which Sky and this particular presenter and many others at times have done. And it really, really, really winds me up because it's clear as day. Still Dreaming said, I struggle to see why Liverpool having two forwards is a problem. It isn't. It wasn't a problem last year when we had Diogo and Darwin. As Arne said, most clubs have two centre forwards. Newcastle have two centre forwards. They brought in Voltmada and Visa. They wanted Ekitike and Isak. You know, United in the past, in the great days as well, had York and Cole. Clubs can have two centre forwards. It's only seemingly us that becomes a problem because they were two big money signings. It's just bullshit. I'm done with all this nonsense. Which is why I keep saying to you, I've no interest in doing that on Sky or TNT Sport or any of that, because I'll just shout at them because I'm so pissed off with the narratives. Appreciate you, Craig. Was bugging me. Competition is good. Defo good, mate. Yeah, it is. Especially when it's genuine competition for places between really high caliber footballers. Right, so 96% of people with over 1,000 votes said yes, we do need to look to bring in a centre-back in the January window, and appreciate you all for that one. I'm right there with you. I'd be in that 96%. Naturalist said, have retorted on so many channels on all the rubbish, all the pundits trying to keep digging holes in the Liverpool team and individual players. Tired of all the hate they have to create to players. I know. Merson keeps trying to find a way to undermine Liverpool as well. And look, I get it. He's a former Arsenal player. But what I hear, Stargirl, basically they might as well come on there and go, please can Arsenal win the league? Please, for the love of God, can Arsenal win the league? We love Arteta. We love him. Can we not win a league? But again, like I keep saying, what they don't do is call out his bullshit. What they don't do is say, excuse me, Mikel, you think that was the most dominant performance over any Pep Guardiola team in his 17 years in management? Are you having a laugh? No, they don't do that because they're like, ooh, we love him. That's headlines. Ooh, we love Mikel. Same with Guardiola. Just absolute nonsense. Don't ask them the real questions. Just let them ramble on, let them talk shy, and don't challenge them. That's not journalism. Darwizzy said, I heard Simon Jordan talking about us spending 450 million. To be fair, I think Simon Jordan has spoken about the money we recouped as well, though. And I wouldn't be Simon Jordan's biggest fan. But I do think I've heard or seen quotes him saying, yes, they spent it, but they did bring in the money. I've no problem with somebody talking about the 450 million we spent. We spent it. But it's not a net spend. We brought in a lot of money from selling players as well. Why is there any harm in players taking their shirts off? So the idea of it is to stop the messages underneath the shirts, or potential sponsorship stuff, or, offensive stuff, basically. That's the idea behind it. But I think most of us would agree it's a stupid rule. It is. Look, Ekatike, I'm not saying he didn't deserve the yellow card. That's the rule, no problem with it. I have no problem with the execution of that yellow card last night and him getting sent off. No, none at all. But it is a stupid rule, and one that I think, if you ask most fans and footballers of any club, they'd say, yeah, get rid of that rule. Unless there's something underneath it, like, I don't even want to say something offensive, but you know what I mean. Unless there's something underneath it that is going to absolutely cause offence. Like if somebody pulls up a top and has a T-shirt that says, "Love you, Diogo," in memory of him or something, how that's not going to affect anybody. If Mo Salah whips off his top after scoring his annual goal against United or two, I don't mind seeing a six-pack. I don't think it offends anybody in the world to see what brilliant shape Mohamed Salah's in. So yeah, it's a silly rule, but it is a rule, unfortunately. My mate reckons it's because it's classed as time wasting. I don't think it is, to be honest. Time wasting. Your mate's wrong. Like literally, what I said there is the reason that the rule exists. It's nothing to do with time wasting. It's and also while we're talking about rules, actually, why is every other manager except Mikel Arteta held to account for the technical area? Watch him. He's nearly on the pitch sometimes. It does my head in watching him. He seems to get away with it more than any other coach. Arsenal pretty much their first team out and they're playing really bad. Good. This is Arteta's problem, by the way. So you're seeing the talk already about injuries for Arsenal, right? Saliba had an injury. Saka had an injury. Now Madueke has an injury. And everybody keeps talking about, oh, poor Arsenal. No! Arteta's an idiot. That's the answer. He overplays people. He rushes them back. Doesn't get mentioned, though. Like I said, it's always poor Arsenal. Arsenal fans cry arson online about injuries they get. Blame your manager. Giovanni Leone last night. That's an unlucky injury. That's got nothing to do with workload. That's just really unfortunate. But a lot of the hamstring concerns and shit like that, it's down to Arteta rushing people back and putting too much workload on them. Again, it's just coming in. I do not understand why this man gets so much love in the media when I think he's a sarky, defensive-minded arsehole, in all honesty. I just can't stand him. And it might be because he played for Everton, I don't know, but I can't stand him. Imagine they change the rule because of us next season. Look, I think if you polled football fans on it, managers, players, a lot of people would want rid of the rule. Like, it's not a particularly popular rule, is it? To take your shirt off to celebrate. What got me about it was in Ekatike's situation last night that he wanted people to see his name. Just turn around and point to the back of your shirt, dude. Same job. Gumi said Arteta is starting half his main 11 against Port Vale when they've Newcastle away at the weekend. Yep. And if he gets an injury in a week or two, he'll be crying about workload on players and congested fixtures and everything else except him. So for all our maybe complaints about sometimes the Plymouth Argyle result coming up, at least we know why our manager's making the changes. Him and Ruben Peters are trying to look after the players' workload. Dave said Arteta can't take being questioned or criticised over his tactics or methods. He goes into overdrive saying how great they are and how they dominated instead. Yeah, he's deluded. Like I've said, my friend, deluded. And I don't use that word about many managers. I can understand the idea behind what a lot of managers say and do. But this man is in a league of his own. Like, I've said it before. He should be fired. Full stop. 5 years without a trophy. You got another man's team and won an FA Cup in your first 6 months. After that, nothing. Declan Rice brought in, loads of money spent, great talented squad. You know, probably top 2 deepest squads in the Prem with what they've brought in. And the man's won nothing. And we're all still hearing about this guy being spoken about like the Messiah. He's won fuck all. He'd be fired at Liverpool. He'd be fired at Manchester United when they were at the top. It's weird. I don't get it. Am I wrong on this, by the way? Or because has he progressed Arsenal? Yes. But you know where I think they missed the trick? I think he's progressed them to the level he's capable of. And I don't know if he's that guy to get them over the line. And what I would do now is get rid of him and bring in somebody who will get them over the line. Because the players that they have are really good players. It's a good squad. And the comments about him playing with the handbrake on, whether he wants to admit it or not, are true. Biggie Mall said, in a league of his own and still second, I bet. Yeah. So Lee Gunner gets a lot of crap, right? My mate Lee Gunner gets a lot of crap over the way he holds his club to account on stuff. I don't think he's wrong most of the time. And I disagree with Lee on a lot of stuff in football. But his criticisms of his manager and the acceptance of mediocrity from some sections of their fan base, I'm fully on board with him with. You know, you're either a big club or you're not. Like, what have we said this season? We've sat here as Liverpool fans, talked about the window we've had. The Wirtzes, the Isaks, the Ekatikes. Bringing these guys in. And what's the first thing that we've said? The expectation level now is up a notch. You know, we won a league last year. We lost the League Cup final, but we won a league. And as Liverpool fans, we're now talking about expectation gone up again. And now it's almost like, well, we have to win the league. That has to be a given. Now we need to add a Champions League. Now we need to kick on again. Now we need to strike the fear of God into everybody in Europe. Because we are a big club. And that's what you need to do. So I don't get it, some of the shit that he gets thrown at him, because, like I keep saying, if you want to be a top club and you want to be spoken about as a big boy, then you got to do big boy things. And that involves winning silverware. David, I didn't miss it this time, bro. I seen it as soon as it came in. I said, right, that's David. Make sure you get on it tonight, Craig, because I don't know what it's been lately, but yeah, appreciate you as always. He said, evening, Craig and bro, and our lovely community. Thank you, mate. Oh, don't forget about a giveaway, by the way. This one. We launched this yesterday. If you haven't already entered, make sure you get across to the Anfield Agenda Instagram account. With thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner, whom, by the way, I bought another shirt off today. I'll tell you about that in a moment, because I need to stop shopping on their website. Honestly, I'm going to break myself. I'm going to be on a sofa. But if you would like a chance to win this beautiful signed and framed Diogo Jota shirt, celebrating the great man's life, make sure you come over to the Anfield Agenda Instagram account for the information on how to enter that giveaway, with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. And do you know what I treated myself to from there today? I can't say this too loud because I haven't told the wife yet. A signed Ronaldinho shirt. Ronaldinho Barcelona shirt. Because when you go on their website, automatically when you put something into your cart, there's a discount added. And the discount varies. Different percentages. And after the competition's over, I'll be able to give you another discount code, which will give you another few quid off. So yeah, do check it out. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. So in my wife's going to kill me. In the last 2 weeks, I've ordered a Messi shirt and a Ronaldinho shirt, signed and framed from the folks at the Collector's Corner. But yeah, I'm on defo on the sofa. The website is the Collector's Corner. I'm not sure if it's a .co.uk. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the Collector's Corner is the website. this logo here, just look at the logo on the bottom corner there. It's like a corner of a football pitch. That's it, the collector's corner. Anyway, Tanya, how are we? What time is the draw? On what side is it on? So I think the draw is scheduled to take place, Tanya, at about 10:15, unless there's no penalty shootouts or anything happening. I haven't really been keeping track of the results tonight, and it's on Sky Sports if I'm not mistaken. It may be on another channel, I'm not sure, but I think it'll be on Sky Sports. Billy said Leone out to late December. That's still not good. Where do we get that from, mate? Again, not trying to say you're a liar or anything. I just, from my understanding, as of yet, the club haven't put a time frame on it. So I'm gonna read you out something here earlier on from Paul Gorst that said, this from Sky Italia said, Leone will undergo surgery. The result of the exam is a rupture of the cruciate. It'll be a long absence. So that and Paul Gorst saying the club haven't put a time frame on it yet is, why I wouldn't say December, because as far as I'm aware, we don't know a time frame yet. Which Ronaldinho shirt was it? Brazil Barca. I have a picture of it. 1 second. It was this one. I don't know if how this will look, but 1 second. Yeah, that one. That Barcelona shirt. Just caught my eye when I was flicking through, and I was like, ooh, Ronaldinho. Ooh, I love a flawed genius. So, yeah, that Barcelona one there. I'd like to go lettering on it as well. Pancake Friday said if he did his full ACL, it'll be 6 to 9 months, heavily leaning towards 9 because they don't want to rush him. I speak professionally when I say this. The season is done, but he'll be back and fit. So I guess there has been a lot of advancements, hasn't there, in the treatment of an ACL rupture over the last 10, 15 years. I mean, God, I'm old enough, and I'm sure some of you guys and girls are as well, to know that that used to be almost a career ender at one point. So now these days, as our friend there said a moment ago, 6, 9 months feels somewhere around the sensible area. But he's only 18. He's a long career ahead of him. He'll come back from this stronger. Wirtz did it as well and came back. Van Dijk, we know at a later age, did it. But like I keep saying, we need to make sure that we show our support for Giovanni Leone online, and let him know that we're all here, we're all going to be waiting for him, and we're all looking forward to his career at Liverpool, because he looks like a class defender, doesn't he? Brad said, if Leone being out for several months is a big blow, do we perhaps explore options in January? Oh yeah, we talked about this, and much love, Craig and all. Thank you, Brad. Yeah, we touched on this one earlier on, dude. You have to at this point, right? We can't risk not doing it. Especially if you add in again that Gomez looked wobbly himself. As somebody said, if Verge had an injury now, this season could unravel quickly. So I think 100% Brad got to go in the market in January, and we got to get a starting caliber centre-back. Cam said, is the giveaway limited by region? I'm in the States. No, it's open to everybody, mate. Open to everybody. Now, of course, if it gets shipped to the States, be prepared to pay the old tariffs on the delivery when it comes in. But no, it can be shipped anywhere. And we're going to be making sure that those guys pick the winners, because it's their competition that they're running with us. But we want to help them, let people know about their business, of course, about their Instagram account and other stuff. So we'll let them pick the winner. They'll then tell me, and I'll announce it. The real Johnny Sinsa, Craig, the refs had an absolute shocker today in the Arsenal-Port Vale game. Vale robbed. And now I pray we get Arsenal next round. I'll watch all the highlights back later, mate. Haven't had a chance, as I said, to see any of it tonight, because I wanted to come on and chat with you guys. But I want to let you guys know about something. So, as you know, or may not know, I'm away for the guts of 2 weeks in October. So I'm going to record a series of videos, and I've asked you guys for some ideas. But the first video I'm actually going to record tonight after this stream, and I'm going to talk about FSG, and I'm going to say basically, was I right or wrong to be angry at FSG for as long as I was? And I'm going to give my updated, unfiltered, honest opinion on all of it. Where I was with FSG, where I am with FSG, and what I think going forward with FSG. So hope you guys enjoy some of these videos. I'm going to miss you all dearly for the few weeks I'm away, but I am going to make sure that we have at least 10 videos sorted out for you guys. And also Connor's going to make sure he does a couple. I think they'll do a few episodes of the podcast when I'm away, but I thought that was the first topic that came into my mind. Like, I need to speak about FSG and explain from start to finish where I was at, where I am at, and why I felt the way that I did, and why I feel the way that I do. Tanya said, I hope the draw is a home game. Yeah, always. I immediately want people to who are in the Auto Cup scheme to get that extra few games. So yeah, I always look for a home draw as well. And it gives, I think, the manager more ability to change the team quite a bit if it's a home game. Either that or I'd love a blockbuster game, you know, a Man City, an Arsenal, something like that. Robin, 1 second, my friend. Oh, I did miss this one, Robin, and thank you for pointing it out. I always urge you guys to let me know if I do. So, you said, what are they smoking over at the Emirates, Henri? Or, John W. Henry. Delusion. Whatever it is, it's delusion. Robin, definitely. And I just don't understand how the journalists don't push back on some of the crap he comes out with over there. David said, does this mean Chiesa comes into the Champions League team? It does, mate. And I'm going to read out something that I read on the Echo website earlier on. And it said, UEFA made an amendment to the registration rules on the eve of this year's tournament, which enables clubs to make one change to their squad during the league phase in response to a long-term injury or illness. If an outfield player is set to be ruled out for at least 60 days, a club can now replace them in their squad with the rule applicable up until match day 6. So, yes, this does mean now that Federico Chiesa can be added into the Liverpool Champions League squad. Which, you know, it's a good thing for Federico, but I'm sure nobody, you know, it doesn't escape any of us the sad reason that he is up put into the squad because of that really, really unfortunate injury to Giovanni Leoni, who honestly I thought looked incredible last night. But you knew it was something serious by the pain he was in. And I know a lot of people were confused at first. Maybe it was his head, maybe it was a concussion, but you could see them working on that leg. And yeah, it's so unfortunate that all of our worst fears, of course, came to fruition and it was an ACL. So sad for him as well. You know, I've spoken many times about his bravery at 18 years of age to up sticks, leave his home country, leave a league that he's only just really started in, to come across to a new country, a new environment, a new team, into a dressing room with superstars. It takes a very courageous young man to do that. Somebody who believes in himself, his direction, where he's going, his ability. Obviously, he has good people around him and his family life as well. I think his mother's a physiotherapist. If I'm wrong on that, I apologise, but I think she is. So I've no doubt he will utilise that mental strength and bravery in his recovery, and he'll have people around him to help him through it. Your Gomez's, your Van Dijk's, your Florian Wirtz and stuff. But yeah, like he's going to need their support because it's going to be a hard road back. Lots of tough work in the gym, and fingers crossed we see him before the season's out. Who reckons Chiesa starts on Saturday? Not a hope. Not a hope. He won't. Not because of his form or anything. It was 90 minutes and he hasn't played a full 90 minutes for us in a long, long time. So he's going to need proper recovery. And there's no way Arna is going to put him into a starting 11 when you have a fully rested Cody Gakpo, a fully rested Mohamed Salah, and an Isak who'll probably get 60 through the middle. So I would imagine he'll get game time all right, but not starting. I just don't think there's any chance he starts. I think he'll come on for the last 25 or 30. Won't we need a defender in the Champions League squad? Well, you could look to the likes of Williams, who would come under the homegrown category then, or somebody who has been coached through Liverpool's system, put on the B list. So we'll be covered enough in that regard. Gaza, the 4th round draw, bro, is coming up, I think, in about 25 minutes or so. Arsenal won. Thank you for that one, Ethan. Actually, let me just quickly, while we're on, check through these scores. So, in the League Cup, it was Huddersfield Town 0, Manchester City 2, Newcastle 4, Bradford 1. Joelinton with a brace and Osula with a brace in that one for them. Spurs 3, Doncaster Rovers 0, and Port Vale 0, Arsenal 2. Latest scores or games still ongoing in the Europa League. It's Dynamo Zagreb 3, Fenerbahce 1, Celtic 1-1 with Red Star Belgrade, Freiburg 2, Basel 1, Malmo losing to Ludo Goretz, Roma 2-1 ahead against Nice in Nice, Real Betis 2, Forest 2, and it finished Braga 1, Feyenoord 0. So they were the results and latest scores. Gumi said hopefully Nello gets a chance. Feel like he'd have more of a future than Williams. Oh, I definitely agree with you on that, mate. I was actually surprised Rhys Williams was even in the Carabao Cup squad last night. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'd say Nello definitely has more of a future. No, like Eli, yeah, the cup draw is scheduled about 10:15, mate. So hopefully we can stay on, catch it, and then finish up, because we're putting the podcast out at 10:45 tonight for everybody. So a few minutes after the stream is over, the latest episode of the pod will be going live. What's the Atletico result? 1 second. 1-1 in the 63rd minute, mate. 1-1. 63 minutes played. Who was the young lad playing centre-back in the friendly? Stevenson. Lucas Stevenson. Gone out on loan. Can't remember where to. But yeah, it was him. Who actually by trade, I think, is a defensive midfielder, if I'm not mistaken. Tracy said at least Ekatike will be rested before the Champions League next week. Definitely, yeah. It's just so silly and unfortunate, that red card. But I'm sure he'll learn from it. It was funny seeing Frimpong running over to him and his expression. Somebody said, what's the draw for? It's for the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, mate. 4th round. Am I going to continue to live stream till the draw is finished? I think so, Gaza, yeah. That's certainly the plan, mate, anyway. Unless it keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. Sometimes they drag this shit on, but yeah, I'm hoping to be staying live with you guys for the draw. Is that the round the VAR is in? No, I think, don't quote me on this, Brad, but I think the VAR comes in at the semi-final stage, or when there's only Premier League teams left in it. So basically for VAR, there has to be the availability for VAR at every ground, or they don't use it in the League Cup. I think semi-finals is when it comes in, but like I said, I think maybe, let's say there was 8 Premier League teams left in the quarters, I think it might come in then. But my understanding is it has to be available in each of the stadiums. So obviously you don't have VAR in the Championship, stuff like that. The real Johnny Sinsa, Craig. I genuinely think Palace away on Saturday will be our toughest game so far. Arsenal was at Anfield, so not as tough. Palace 17 unbeaten. We talked about that very topic on the podcast tonight and had similar thoughts to yourself. Not going to be easy by any stretch. Like you've said, they're on an unbeaten run. They will have no fear. They'll think we beat them on penalties in the Community Shield. There's the whole Mark Gay factor to it as well, so it'll be a bit spicy there. But, I'm not going to lose my mind if we drop some points on Saturday. It's going to happen. We're not going to win every game this season. I think it's just about how we do it, how the game goes, how we lost the points if we did. Let's say we went 2-0 down early and came back and drew 2-2 with a 94th minute equaliser. You feel a lot different there than if we go 2-0 up, Palace come back, draw 2-2. It feels like a defeat. So let's wait and see. It's a tough game though, no denying it. And we've got 3 away games now in a row. Crystal Palace, then Galatasaray, and then back down to London for Chelsea on the final game before the international break. The legend said, hope Leone gets well. Don't wish injury on anybody. Thank you, sir. Class act. So sad, isn't it, man? Just his first performance as well, like his first appearance for Liverpool at Anfield, put in such a good shift, and goes out to make a tackle on the sideline, and it's just so unfortunate, dude. But class act, mate. Appreciate you. Ashley said Liverpool's late winners are enjoyable, but also nerve-wracking. They are, mate. Yeah, look, it's great winning these games late, like you said, but it'd be a lot easier if we were doing it the easy way, wouldn't it? Can I ask you, boys and girls and ladies and gents, for a little favour? If you can, hit that like button for me. We're at about 465 at the minute. Let's see if we can get that up to 1,000. Again, your help is really appreciated. Our last ever live show is coming up next month, and I can't bring up the image at the minute because, like I said, my desktop images have disappeared for some reason. But if you want to come and see us, you can get your tickets with the link in the description of this stream video and most of our videos. We are going to be at the Hot Water Comedy Club in Liverpool. And more threats have come in, by the way, today, or the other day, via email, which, again, there's no amount of threats that are going to stop me doing that show. So just don't waste your time sending us the emails because, like I said, nothing is stopping me taking to that stage to do that show. So yeah, if you're watching, because clearly you do watch, Mr. People who are threatening us, just don't waste your time. It's not going to change anything. Who do you think starts up front on Saturday? Hannah, I think it'll be Isak. Isak, Gakpo, Salah is what I'm thinking. I'm not saying that's my favourite team. If I'm being really honest with you, I think there's a conversation about whether Wirtz should go left over Gakpo for this one. Because, the big headache for Arne is going to be the midfield. Gravenberch's obviously nailed on. Going to start, going to play. So you've got one spot left there in midfield. McAllister or Wirtz, somebody's getting disappointed. If Maka plays, then I would argue give Wirtz a go on the left. I can't see Chiesa starting, as I said, because he played the full 90 and he hasn't, built up a level of fitness yet that I think he'd be able to come in and play another. So I expect him to come off the bench. But yeah, that's roughly what I'm thinking up top. There's no way Chiesa starts this game. I can see a few people suggesting it in the chat. It's just not going to happen. Not for any other reason other than, like I said, you've got a fully rested set of players in Wirtz, Gakpo, Salah, and Isak, who only did 45 as well. There's just no way the manager is going to have gone through all of that, given these guys a breather, and then revert back. I can't see a world he does it. The real Johnny Sin said, Galatasaray away will be no joke either. Oshman will be a proper challenge. Look, I don't want to be as disrespectful towards them as the Turkish football president seemed to be towards Liverpool, but I'm not worried going over to play Galatasaray. I'm not. I've looked through their squad. I'm sure the atmosphere will be brilliant because Turkish football fans are great, but if we want to win the Champions League, we got to be believing we can go over to Istanbul and beat Galatasaray. Ethan said, do you think we can compete on all fronts? Injuries allowing, Ethan, yes. Like, I could say yes, and Virgil could pick up an injury, and that could set us back. So if Arne and Ruben Peters and the sports science and medical staff can continue their great work of keeping people available and managing the workload on them, like I've always said, it's very difficult to measure the injuries you don't get. But Arne and Ruben Peters have done a great job at both Feyenoord and at Liverpool of limiting that. So if we can do that and manage the workload and keep the guys at the peak levels as much as possible, yes, I do think that we can challenge on all fronts. I think we have a deep enough squad. I'm not saying it's a complete squad. Certainly have the conversation around defensive midfield, centre back now. But yeah, definitely feel a lot more capable of it. Martin said, only sick people use violence. Why so much hate? Martin, I've asked myself that question a lot. Why have I constantly gotten threatened over the years? Be it unnamed people or on social media. I've dealt with it for 5-6 years now. In the last 6 months, a particular group has gotten out of hand. And like I said, an arrest was made over in the UK with the police. I do wonder, mate. I don't consider myself a particularly divisive type of guy. I can understand maybe why people don't enjoy my content or agree with me. But to get to the level where you're talking about raping my child, you're talking about killing me, whilst I don't take them as worrying from a safety perspective, I just wonder, like, what the fuck? Like, I talk about football. I tried to preach love. I tried to talk about inclusivity. I try to be a good influence and a good role model. So that is the one part of all of this, Martin, that I really can't get my head around. Because I might be a lot of things. I might be a shithouse. I might be, mouthy at times. But I don't think I'm a bad guy. And that's what I've really struggled with all of this crap is. Like, why? More than that, like, just why? Anyway, I don't know the answer to it. And yeah, like I said, it's not something they're ever going to scare me with, because I've been through real shit in my life that, this is just arseholes on the internet. But just even to read the words about your child and stuff, like, imagine threatening to rape a 13-year-old autistic child. Like, what type of sick fuck has to think that? I don't know. I can't control this shit. So, the legend said Trossard really is a super sub. He's, like I said, Arsenal squad, mate. You probably were watching the game earlier on, but we were talking a bit about Arteta, and I was saying that I think it's underachieving what he's done with the squad he's had at Arsenal. And Trossard is, like you said, a very, very solid player. Always chips in with a fair amount of goals as well. David said the people sending you those emails are sadly kids. In some circumstances, yes. In others, no. I'd love to sit here, mate, and say to you it's all been kids, but no, it hasn't. Some of them have been grown adults. Earlier days stuff, grown adults from Liverpool, and that was the earlier days. Not so much really anymore since I left social media in that regard. But I hope you guys now see at times why I may be a little bit tetchy or defensive when I come on, because there's a lot I don't bring to the streams because I don't want you guys having to hear it, deal with it, talk about it. But it can be tough. I'd love to speak to other content creators about it at times because I imagine it happens to a lot of people. But, you know, it just takes a particular type of sick fuck to start bringing people's kids into it. Like, that's the thing I'll never get. Does the injury to Leone change Liverpool's plans on Mark Gay for January? I think it has to, dude. Yeah, I think it has to. I was mentioning earlier on, you know, it also tells Palace now, if you're Steve Parish, you know, probably smell a few extra pound notes there now, right? That you think, okay, well, now they need Mark A. Maybe, you know, maybe they can say, bluff will wait till the end of the season beforehand in these conversations. But with Leone's injury now, if it isn't going to be Mark A, it's got to be somebody. So what I would do if I was Liverpool here, Hedgie, is, you know, I'd start to feed out stories to the media now in the next couple of months about other centre-backs that we're looking at. Just so Palace don't think they'd have you by the short and curlies when it comes to this conversation around Mark A. Martin, appreciate you, mate. It'll be a pint of Diet Coke, if that's all right, dude, because I'm not really a big drinker. But always appreciate you, sir, and thank you for your kindness. Kieran said, sorry to hear that, Craig. It's a pity there are those type of wankers out there. At the end of the day, though, they'd choke on their tongue if they saw you. So here's what hurts me, Kieran. Got these threats before the last show in Liverpool, did the show. Got the threats before this show, will do the show. But here's the thing, mate. The last show we did, in fact, I've never taken a single penny from any show we've done. The last show we did in Liverpool, we donated, and so the venue did, all the money to the fund for the crash victims and their families, because it's the right thing to do. For this one, I'm donating all the ticket sale money to Joe Lewis and the fund for his wheelchair basketball chair. I only ever do these shows as a thank you to people for their support of our channel and to meet you in person and say hello and thank you. So it really pisses me off that somebody can have that much hate in their heart for me, because I'm a good man. I am. There's a lot we do behind the scenes that you don't hear about. And thousands given to mental health charities. Kids' Christmas presents bought. Like, so much shit that we try to pay back because our community is important to us. Doing the right thing is important to us. Being a good role model is important to us. And when you get the hate like that, and you add in the blanking from the football club and, you know, others wanting to steer clear of you with a barge pole and not wanting to do it, you kind of, you say to yourself, fuck, what is it? Like, what's up with me? Don't know the answer, but it is tough. Especially the football club stuff. That really angers me, because I swear, big fucking deal, I swear, I don't preach hate. I don't corrupt young people's minds with violence or misogyny or some of the other shit. But for some reason, because I've spoken out, I'm persona non grata. Other Liverpool content creators don't want nothing to do with us from the city. The club blank us at every opportunity. If we've asked for anything, we've been told no. And this sounds salty, right, when I say it, because you're thinking, look at this entitled prick. But I'm only talking about things that are there for others. You know, opportunities that have already been given to others. And without trying to blow our own trumpet, we're the most watched Liverpool fan channel on the planet, and it isn't even close. And there has to be a reason for that. I think the reason is you guys. But it's fucking soul destroying at times. You're thinking, like, am I bad? Am I a horrible human being? Like, am I coming across differently than I think? And truth is, like I said, I don't know the answer. But I also know I or anybody shouldn't have to deal with some of the scumbag shit that comes our way. it's weird. Like, it's just, I don't get the psychology of somebody getting up in the morning and having that much hate in their heart for me or anyone. I feel sincere sympathy for them, because nobody's born that way. You know, nobody's born with hate in their heart. It's a lived experience through obviously bad friends, mindsets, role models. I don't know. But I'm just going to keep plugging away and keep being me. And, you know, how bad is it that, like, so I'm going to the United game in October with Brian and Brian's brother and a few others. And I may or may not have a reason to think this, I don't know. But if I sat here and said to you, I'm not concerned if I'll even be let into the stadium, I'd be a liar, because I don't know. All I know is that Liverpool have reached out to other supporters clubs that we were supposed to meet before in America to ask what their business with us was. I also know that the football club or people in and around it think we're not serious people. Because I swear. Because that's it, right? That's all I do that can't be considered PG. And it really, it hurts to love something so much in the football club and be just fucking blanked. You have to, you be an idiot not to feel it's you. You know, it's something about you that makes this shit happen. I don't know. Sorry for my rambling on. The only time it's really, really hurt me is the Klopp stuff. You know, I seen Redmen interview Klopp. I seen the Anfield Rap interview Klopp. And I sat back and I thought, that's so cool for them. They're living their dreams. They're sitting there chatting with Jurgen. They're saying their goodbyes to him. They're thanking him for the time. I've seen others as well get these things. And we reached out to ask if we could just buy 2 tickets to go to the event at the M&S Bank Arena, and got told, ignored. And we sent 3 emails. A long, multi-paragraphed email, blanked. And they're going to the right people. So how can you not feel on the outside when that's your lived experience? It just feels really confusing as to what we're doing that's so bad that means we're like kept on the outside. I don't get it. I don't think I'm a bad guy. I don't think we do anything here to influence people in the wrong way. Yes, I'm outspoken, but, you know, if that's all it takes to be kept on the outside, then fuck me, people have thin skins. Where are we at? Kieran, sorry, I've done that one. Bobby said, would love to send more, hard time sending love. Man, look, I never expect anyone to send a super chat or a single damn cent, mate. I appreciate you guys being here. That's my only hope when we have these shows, is that you're here, you're interacting, and you enjoy it. Because what you guys give me is more than a super chat or financial. Like, you give me a sense of belonging and purpose. David said, what has the world come to? I hope the person gets justice. Love you too and the family. Well, the initial person has been arrested and charged. I can't talk more about it because it's still an ongoing case, but that person was charged. The devices seized by the police and forensically checked. So to all the fuckers that send the emails that do think that they can't be found, you can be found. A VPN ain't going to help you. Police technology and people who work in cybersecurity get around all that shit. These people brag to me in the emails saying, you won't catch me. You think you will. You think you know somebody who can track us down, blah, blah, blah. Well, watch. Like the prick who's just been arrested. Watch. Itachi said, feel completely sorry for Leone. He was amazing yesterday. I'm hoping Isak will be our main starting number 9. I just love him already. Have you seen his goal celebration? Isak's, yeah, I loved it. I was a bit worried with the sliding knee. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm always concerned when a player slides along the ground with their knee. I don't know why, it just concerns me. Same as a player doing a somersault or a backflip. But God, it was good to see him give it, that when he scored. And then look back, of course, and give Chiesa the thumbs up for the assist. Both of our goals last night came through Federico Chiesa's brilliance and determination. The first one, he read the pass from McCarthy, nicked in ahead of the defender, and still had the wherewithal to pick out Isak with a tiny finish. The second one, nobody in the world would have blamed Chiesa for taking that shot on. Robbo plays an exquisite ball over the top. Federico brings it down, kills it, stone dead with a great first touch, opens up his body. You're thinking, here you go, Fede. Here's your moment, dude. Make that net bulge in front of the cop. Off you go. But it tells you the man and the character of the man that he squares it to his teammate, taps it in, open goal, job done. And then, of course, Ekitike gets sent off. But it was such a good night for Chiesa last night that I think every Liverpool fan had an extra bit of satisfaction after that game. Because not only did we win, Fede had his coming out party properly. And he deserves any bit of recognition he gets. He was brilliant. Thank you, Lance. Said Craig, keep going forward. Love you and the community you create for us. Thank you. Like I said, one of the most pleasing things in my life is being here with you guys day after day. I love it. I hate having a day off. Thank you. Javid said, be you and never change. Your honesty is real. Thank you, mate. I can't be anybody else. I'm somebody that you can read body language pretty easily on. When I smile, my whole face lights up. When I'm angry, I look like somebody pissed in my cornflakes. I'm a pretty emotional fella, so I can only be me, dude. That's all I know how to be, but thank you. Yes, I love that thumb celebration, said Itachi. It was great, and it was good that he gets that goal as well early doors, so we don't now have to think, well, that's 2 appearances, is it a 3rd appearance? He's got the goal. And I love that he was honest enough to say as well in the interview with Robbo after the game when they were being questioned about the match in general. And Robbo jokingly said, well, he should have had one earlier. And then Isak said, well, yeah, I probably should have actually. I like that awareness from him as well. But it was a good finish. Delighted for him to get off the mark. And like I keep saying, just excited. Like, we're now 7 games in and we've won every single one of them across 3 competitions. And the best part is, I think we'll all agree, we've won 7 games in 3 competitions and still haven't played at our best. That's the really exciting part in all of this. Smokey says, just remember all the people you have helped with mental health over the years. You're going to get me crying, dude. Stop. Feck them scumbags. But the only reason that I'm so big on mental health is when I was growing up, it honestly, and I'm saying this about my own father, he viewed it as weakness to need to go to see a psychiatrist or psychologist. And I think it's because of a bad experience for him that my mum had with one. And I can't really get into the details of it here, but I knew I needed it. I knew I needed help, or I wouldn't be here. So to me, if I can come on and show myself in good times and in bad times, whether it sounds egotistical or not, I think it's important that people understand that we all struggle and that it's okay. More than ever now, we're living in a time where people feel under so much pressure to be perfect, to look perfect, to act perfect, to be wealthy. It's just constantly in your face, in your face. Everybody's having a great life. Everyone's out having dinner or on holidays and families are perfect and bullshit. That's not life. That's not fucking life. Life is getting up every day, and some days are good and some days are bad. But you know what you do? You get up again the next day and you try again. And like anything, any change or anything, one step at a time. You know, I went from being homeless to getting into debt on a credit card to find an apartment, to being locked up in a psychiatric ward, to being here with you as the most watched Liverpool fan channel in the world, and, you know, a decent looking economic future for my family. I went from that low. But I didn't do that on my own. I did that with 351,000 people putting an arm around my shoulder when I needed it. So, yeah, it's important that people know. We're all fucked up. Yeah. Anywho. The draw. Let's talk about the draw. Excuse me. So yeah, keep me up to date. Where are we at with the draw? Okay, the draw's coming out now. Newcastle Spurs. Thank you, Mark. Keep the... Mark, can you WhatsApp me what you're posting in there, if that's all right? Because I don't have the TV on, so I'm relying on you guys to relay the info. So look, if I can ask you a little favour, do hit that like button for me if you can. Like I said, we're 670 now. The more likes we can get hit, obviously the more the channel gets suggested and pushed out there. So if you can take one quick second to hit that like button, boom. Liverpool Crystal Palace. That's your draw. Liverpool Crystal Palace. Interesting. So, just to confirm again, Liverpool at home, which is the good news, against Crystal Palace in the 4th round of the League Cup. I will get you the full draw now that it's been done. 1 second, I'll get onto Sky and get the outcome of this one. So, here we go. Here's the draw. Arsenal at home against Brighton. Grimsby against Brentford. Swansea, Manchester City. Newcastle at home against Spurs. Wrexham take on Cardiff in a Welsh derby. Very interesting one there. Liverpool take on Crystal Palace at Anfield. Wolves against Chelsea at Molineux. And Wickham against Fulham. That is the draw. I don't know how many games is that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's it in its entirety, right? That's the last 16 there. So, again, just to run through them. Arsenal, Brighton. Grimsby, Brentford, Swansea, Manchester City, Newcastle, Spurs, Wrexham, Cardiff, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Chelsea, and Wickham, Fulham. So, Auto Cup scheme. Happy days for the folks in that. You will get an ability to get to another game, which I love to see. So, yeah, nice one. So, there we go. Crystal Palace in the League Cup. We're always on your side, mate. Sad about Leone. Thank you, Steve. And absolutely agree about Giovanni, mate. Just really, really unfortunate. Mark, thank you, bro. You've always been there, Mark, as a good friend, as well as obviously a great chief moderator during that time as well. You've been a good mate, so thank you. Mike said, that's a great achievement, Craig. Thank you, man. Like I said, I've been very lucky. I've had my wife by my side the whole way through, and through all my ups and downs on here, I've had you guys who have been more of a help than you can ever know. Any news on Stefan? Is he injured? I don't think he's injured, Hayden. No. Don't really have an update to give you. I can't really add anything more to that, but he has been training. So, obviously not match fit yet. Probably see him playing some 21 games and stuff like that. But hopefully he can get fit soon, because maybe I'm biased here. I'm a huge fan of his. I think there's a real player in there. Just really been unfortunate with injuries. Where are we? This one from Chris. Chris, thank you. Chris Dibble, thank you, mate, for being with us as a member as well. Here from Reese and Craig, and asked to share love. Nothing but love back, my friend. Thank you, Chris. And hello to Reese as well. The legend said Liverpool versus Palace will be interesting in the Cup. So what always pops into my mind, mate, when you get an all Premier League tie like that in the League Cup is it must be a weird situation for Glasner and Arner to be in. Like, how strong do you go? How many changes do you make? The brinksmanship in an all Premier League tie like this, I always find fascinating. Because let's say we were drawn against Wrexham. Fully would expect Liverpool to, again, have a much changed squad, but still a decent squad. Now that it's Crystal Palace, I would expect us to have to go a little bit stronger than maybe Arner would have liked. But I could be wrong on that as well. Maybe he goes much change for 60 and tries to do something late or win it late. But I'm always fascinated by the psychology of the team selections when it's an all Premier League tie. Lauren said, I hope you know the impact you've had on a lot of people around the world. You're an incredible, amazing person. You're funny. Keep your chin up, King. You help me with depression and being happy. Thank you, Lauren. I don't ever think of me doing stuff to help others, but I do love being part of somebody's daily routine. People coming in to have a chat with us, and because I know if I don't do a stream for a day, I miss it, and I want to come back on and chat with everyone. So I always appreciate your support. Andrew Cromek, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, bro. Appreciate you. So, ladies and gents, I'm going to head off and record a few videos for when we're away on holidays. So I'll have some content to put out for you guys. But I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. The podcast is going to be out in 15 minutes. So do check that out for me. Myself, Steve and Connor talking about the Palace game, talking about the game last night, and a few other bits and pieces as well. So if you can give us some feedback on that, it'll be much welcome. If you haven't entered a competition, don't forget to go across to our Instagram account where we're giving away that signed and framed Diogo Jota shirt with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, hit that like button for me. Still only 747. There's 1,500 people in the chat. It only takes a second. If you can, hit that like button for us, and I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye.